In a number of spiritual paths, your deeper questions might find answers in a session in the pastor's study. You're looking for something more, so let's offer you something different. Merry meet and blessed be. Some of you are used to that kind of a greeting. Some of you are not. Okay, I got to adjust this. I'm human, and I just got done taping Church Back Home, which is at the same altar that's used for Mass for the Shutout. Universal. If you've been watching Church Back Home, you heard me talk about, in the words of the service, in the words of this Holy Communion, unity, a universal church, etc. I've talked about it on the Secrets in Plain Sight in a very different pastor study back in the days of the Sabbath school class. Actually, I toss it in at just about any excuse I can find. Universal Episcopal Church has that name for a reason. Episcopal, okay, I got tossed the title of bishop not too long after I became a priest of the Universal Gnostic Fellowship. And I got invited to join the House of Independent Bishops. Or as the presiding archbishop called it, the House of Very Independent Bishops. Just about every spiritual path that you can find is there. And why am I doing this? Some people are going to say Iden is crazy, and others are going to say Cal is crazy. Well, guess what? You got Iden Odinson, you got Cal Lippett, High Priest Iden Odinson, Presiding Bishop Cal Lippett. And then, of course, there's the guy who engineers application software for an insurance company. And then there's a young man and young woman who are entitled to call him Dad. And then, of course, there's the one that five cats and two dogs call Daddy. And then there's the one that a young man about 3 years old calls Grand Godpop. And then there's the ham radio operator, AA3YZ. And if they all sit down in a chair at the same time, guess what? They only need one chair because they're all in the same body. But they're different aspects of the same person. Lady Stormy is my wife. And she might address me in some terms of endearment. My immediate boss has the same first name as my wife. But she won't get away with addressing me in those same terms of endearment. She'd probably have some problems with her husband, at least. So yeah, many aspects. But did you notice there's one basic principle, and that is when we're talking about universal. The same rules of physics apply throughout the universe. There's no place where steel is going to become cotton or ice cream. And if you've noticed in the various revered writings, the same truths are told differently, but it's the same truths. And often similar stories. How many flood stories are there? How many sons of God were killed by treachery? How many sons of God are going to be coming back after a final battle? Ragnarok, Armageddon. And how does that apply to us? Well, you've heard the word universal. You've heard the term universalist. Okay. There's a lot of argument about what that means and what that should mean. And while we might not all agree on what it does mean, I think we can narrow our focus by agreeing on what we know it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean a cafeteria approach. What do I mean by a cafeteria? Well, if you go into a cafeteria and you get a meal there, if you want a 4-course meal and it's all desserts, that's your business. Well, here, we're in a regular restaurant, and you get all the courses. So, no, you're not going to call yourself Jewish and get all those neat bar mitzvah and Hanukkah presents and avoid Yom Kippur. You can't be a Catholic and have candy at Easter and Christmas presents and avoid Lent. Which doesn't mean that Lent has to be the abusive Lent that some are taught. It also means that you don't get to jump around. There's a popular rumor that certain Native American traditions are allowed to use peyote, but you don't go there and say, "Hey, can I have some?" You'll find out what it takes to get to that point. You're going to discover you can't afford it. But you don't bounce around anyway. You don't suddenly become an Episcopalian on Sundays so that you can get a sip of wine. And you don't suddenly stop being something because there's some part of it that you're uncomfortable with. If you have a tradition, you follow it. Now, it does mean respect, a mutual respect between various paths. And it also means that bridges can be built. It also means that bridges do not have to be burned. If you came from a path, you can have a bridge to it. If you are going towards a path, you can have a bridge towards where you are. And back to where you've been. And sometimes that can be important. For all that I do here in the Universal Episcopal Church, I certainly cannot turn my back on All-Father Odin. Not when I laid on a hospital gurney and I thought that I'd been abandoned by everything human and divine. And I called out his name and I saw him looking me in the eye. And I was walking that long path to Lady Hela's realm and got diverted off of it by a wall of runes. No, I'm not going to turn my back on that. I do, however, have a right to take down the bridge that would lead me back to the people that told me that the terrible times I was going through was because God wanted it that way. And I have a thing or two to say to some of those people. They should already know what those words are without my telling them. But you can build a bridge and you can keep a bridge up if that's what you want. There are whole books on universalism. This is just a first glimpse at how I see when I glimpse at it. I might, blessed be. Uriel's Gifts and The Secrets in Plain Sight are sponsored by the Temple of Gaia. At Temple of Gaia, we don't train you to our path. We show you how to find and pursue your own path. Above all, we tried to provide a great place to come together and to share. We're located in Collingdale, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and wherever cyberspace can be reached. To learn more, visit our website at templeofgaiainc.org or our meeting place in cyberspace at templeofgaia.ning.com. Thank you for coming. Feel free to return at any time. We intend to always have something for you here. Blessed be. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.